Plunder Pit, Chapter 14, The Chimney. Jan touched his lips for silence, and the three went on up the tunnel. The passage rose at a steady slope, and this was encouraging. Also, the floor was drier, so they got on faster. The gallery seemed endless, but Jan became more cheerful. "Air's better," he said, and this was true. The air was certainly fresher. This seemed to argue an opening, and Chad's spirits rose. The next thing that attracted their attention was a cut in the right-hand wall. It was a sort of shaft which ran up at a tremendously steep angle. It was no larger than an old-fashioned chimney. "Air shaft," Jan said. "Reckon her goes up to top. But bain't no good to us." Clive spoke. "My torch is pretty nearly finished," he said uncomfortably. True enough, the battery was almost down and the light turning blue. Presently they had to stop and light the candle. Chad saw that there was an hour's light at most, and afterwards, well, that didn't bear thinking of, and he quickened his pace. They rounded another curve and saw something ahead. It was not a fall, but the blank end of the passage, a wall of solid rock. No one spoke. Chad was conscious of a horrid sinking feeling at the pit of his stomach. No way forward, no way back, for the rockfall had cut off any chance of return. They were hopelessly trapped, without food and with light for less than an hour. Clive's face had gone very white again. As for Jan, he stood as still as if frozen. Yet Jan was the first to recover. "We're not done yet," he said. "There's that there shaft. Us'll have a look at un." The boys did not speak. They were afraid that their voices might betray their feelings. They turned in silence and followed Jan back to the air shaft. Jan took the candle and held it up. "There's staples," he said, as he pointed to a great V-shaped piece of iron fast in the rock. Chad's spirits bounded, only to fall again when he saw how terribly rusted the iron was. It was on the tip of his tongue to declare that it could never hold him, but he bit off the words as he realized that to climb this shaft was the only chance of life for him and his companions. "I see," he said cheerfully. "I'd better go first, Jan. Then I can give you a hand." Jan hesitated a moment, then agreed. He cut the remains of the candle in two and fixed half of it in the front of Chad's hat. "Good luck to ye," he said in a low voice, and Chad set forth on his perilous venture. He gripped the first staple and drew himself up. To his great relief it held. The iron was so thick that in spite of rust there was enough to bear his weight. He stretched to the next and managed to gain it. But when he had done so he realized that it was utterly impossible for Clive, who was so much shorter than he, to climb from one staple to another. Nor could Jan do it. He stopped and looked down, and told them about it quietly. "See here," he went on, "when I get to the top, I shall go back to the mine house for a rope. There's one there. I saw it. There's no risk, for Ben and Jake will be up on the hill looking for us. Us'll wait," was all Jan said, and his quiet voice made Chad realize better than anything else the difficulty of his task. Jan would not argue, because he did not want Chad to waste breath in replying. Chad went on. Foot by foot he won his way up that perilous place, knowing that one mistake, one slip, would mean certain death. The climb seemed endless. Every muscle in his body ached. His hands were torn on the rough iron. His fingernails were split. Perspiration streamed down his face, almost blinding him. More than once he felt as if he had reached the end of his tether. It was only the thought of those others waiting beneath in the dark depths and knowledge that their lives depended on him, which drove him onwards and upwards. Suddenly a splash of cold rain struck his burning face, and a thrill of triumph ran through his aching body. Then his candle blew out. But just above him was a dim patch of light. His groping fingers found a ledge. He gave a last desperate heave, hoisted himself over a sharp edge of rock, and collapsed flat on his face on soaking turf. "Chad! Chad!" It was Clive's voice echoing up from the depths. Chad turned and got his face over the edge. "I'm safe. I'm all right. Just resting a minute. It's not quite dark up here and there's plenty of cover. I'll go and have a look at the mine house. If they're there, I'll go back to Badger's Holt. If not, I'll get the rope. Don't worry. I'll take no chances." He struggled to his feet. The worst of the storm had passed, though lightning still flickered on the horizon, and it was still raining. He came upon a pool in a little hollow, stooped, drank, and felt better. Crouching beside a big boulder, Chad took a look around and was surprised to find how close he was to the mine house. A flicker of sheet lightning showed it not more than 300 yards away, but about 200 feet below him. Feeling sure that Ben and Jake would never dream of his coming up through this shaft, he went cautiously down to the mine house. There was no light inside. The door was not locked. He went in and found the rope without trouble. He was coiling it when he heard footsteps coming towards the door. There was only one thing to do, and Chad did it. He slipped into the inner room, crawled through the broken boards, and crouched inside the mine. Next instant, he heard the outer door open. Ben, are you there?" The voice was Jake's. But what, in the name of all that was unlucky, had brought him back?